Intel has reportedly finished or finalized their node production, uh, basically the blueprints on how they're going to do node production for both 2 nanometer and 1.8 nanometer CPU dies. And we may be seeing consumer level chips as early as next year. So that's the 20A and 18A nodes finalized. Uh, this is pretty big news from a company who took the better half of a decade to get off of 14 nanometer and still struggled to get into 10 nanometer. Hasn't done anything with 7 yet. To all of a sudden go like, yeah, we're just going to leapfrog the industry and go straight to 2 nanometer. That's kind of nuts. Now, when you think about it, Intel was for basically my entire life the predominant chip manufacturer on the planet as far as process node and level of technology goes. I mean, Intel's main fabrication plant is right here in my backyard, here in Hillsboro, Oregon. Yeah, the idea of them being able to shrink down process nodes down to 2 nanometer and start producing chips as early as the second half of 2024, that's a pretty mind-boggling jump to go from 10 nanometer to 2 nanometer. That's a factor of 5 when it comes to density. Like, we as a people, as the technology crowd, still get excited when Moore's law happens. Like, oh my god, it's 50% faster or 50% more efficient or whatever. Like, or it's that those exponential level leaps. Like, ooh, we get really excited. We're excited about 20% IPC out of Zen 4 processors and whatnot. Man, I don't know necessarily that they're going to be ready to be producing consumer chips on 2 nanometer, but the idea that they're going to start rolling off a production fab in some way, shape, or form is very exciting. I don't know whether or not they'll be available for purchase or if this is going to be qualification processes or whatever else, or if they're going to be doing core x86 64 based products at all, or if these are going to wind up as chipsets or network cards or NAND or some other technology that's in Intel's hat. But pretty interesting stuff. The really curious thing here is now that Sapphire Rapids is a thing. Sapphire Rapids is the platform that should have come out all the way back in 2018. And believe it or not, was pretty much always planned to have tiles, chiplets. Sapphire Rapids is now on the market. You can now go buy chips, both in the server class chip and on the workstation now. And they've kind of proved that they've figured out how to do the tiles, how to do chiplet style design, take a lot of smaller devices, tie them together with a unified back-end cache and memory system, tie together their PCI Express devices and lanes, and eliminate NUMA node bifurcation and all that kind of stuff, and put out a product that works as a unified processor. What if instead of doing 2 chiplets or 4 chiplets or even 6, what if it's going to be like 20? What if they don't have to necessarily get the best yields out of a wafer? What if their wafers produce hundreds of dies instead of dozens, and they're able to bin the best ones, and they can put 10 or 12 or 18 or 20 chiplet style dies, but much smaller dies than we think of now on 7 nanometer fab, onto a unified piece of silicon. That's got me excited.
Pretty crazy.
So, Meteor Lake which is the successor to Rocket Lake, should be entering the market by the end of 2023. It's currently slated for Q4 2023. And then 20A and 18A chips could be appearing late 2024 or possibly right at the beginning of 2025. So that would be Arrow Lake and Lunar Lake production.